Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, everybody. Welcome back to my YouTube channel and to another installment in the K&SV and Scenic Valley Railroad. If you're watching last week, you will have seen the layout packed up into a trailer and a U-Haul truck for shipping to the client's address. This week I'll be putting it back together again in the client's home. Now unfortunately my camera died during this trip, so I don't have everything available. I got most of it, but there's a few little bits missing. But without further ado, let's just head out to the client's attic and put the layout together. Well, here I am in the customer's house. This is a loft area at the top of the stairs, and as you can see, most of the railroad is already up here. Through this door is the train room. It's around 24 feet by 21, just a little bit more in each case. There's a few more pieces in here. Here are the layout plans, which he printed out quite large. The helixes are still down in the garage because we have to do some work to get them up the stairs. They're just a little bit too big, so we've got to make some modifications. But that shouldn't be too much of a trouble. I am going to get a little shelf put up in this corner for the time-lapse camera so I can record everything I do in here. So don't go away, I will check in with you from time to time as the project progresses. Well, the first day on a job site never has a lot of visible progress because it's basically a getting organised day. I have got most of the low-level ledger boards on the wall, although two of them are the wrong height. So I've got to take them off and adjust them. I found a much better way of doing it. I've got a pair of the 16-inch legs with a block screwed to the top, and then I just clamp it on top of the ledger board. You can see here it's not touching the floor. So tomorrow I will clamp the other leg on the other end, back out the screws and let it drop. Put them back in again. Won't take long. Well, all the staging level ledger boards are attached to the wall now properly at the right height. It was easy once I got that technique correct. Before I install the staging yard benchwork, I am going to get the ledger boards for the second level attached because that'll be a lot easier to do it with nothing to reach over. So let me go and work out exactly what height they're going to be, and I will check in with you again later. Don't go away. Well, here is the room with all the second level ledger boards attached to the walls, and also one piece third level as well. The rest of the third level doesn't get put on now because they will be going in on top of the second level framing and clamping the C girders downwards, so I can't install them yet. Now, the next thing I've got to do is start bringing the staging yard sections in. So let me get on with that and I'll be right back. I mentioned yesterday that the first day on the job site usually doesn't have a lot of visible progress. Well, today I have done pretty well. As you can see, all the ledger boards are on the wall. I have the first 5 sections of the staging yard positioned and bolted together. I've also been attaching felt pads to the bottom of all the legs. You can see here I've done it to the cabinets as well. And earlier I turned the canyon section on its side. Did the same there as well. It's sheet felt that I found at Walmart in the craft section, and it has a peel and stick back, so it is perfect for this job. It'll stop the bench work from rubbing against the floor as I drag it around into place. Anyway, I think I'm going to wind up for the day. It's about 6 o'clock and I'm happy with the day's progress. The only part of the lower deck that is not installed yet are the 2 helixes, and I have to do some modifications to the house tomorrow. Here is the stairwell, and that header at the bottom is a couple of inches too low. So we're going to have to raise that to get the helices upstairs. I've checked the construction photographs just to make sure that I can do it without causing structural problems. It's a 2x12 header, and as you can see, it only spans about 4 feet. So there's no reason why I can't cut some of it out and then patch up the drywall afterwards. So that will be a task for tomorrow. I've got my brother coming to help me. He is still a licensed contractor in the state of Michigan. Well, I haven't spent a great deal of time in this room today. The majority of the day was spent modifying the header at the bottom of the stairs so I get the helixes up and putting that back together again. I have got the helixes assembled and a few other pieces of the second level roughly installed. There's this big L corner piece and the canyon scene. None of it is attached to the room yet. It's still floating on the ledger boards. What I've got to do is get it properly squared up and make sure that I don't build any twist into it, because the staging level is a lot less rigid than the scenic levels above them. I've also got to build a leg here where this temporary piece of wood is. I messed up where the step goes. I 10-inched it. You can see there's a join there. I had to modify the ledger board, so we now no longer have the stiff S-bend. So I'm just going to put a leg down to the floor and screw it to the wall plate. It'll be just as good. And once the railroad's built, you won't even see it. No one would know it was there if I hadn't have come clean and told you. So I'm going to get that done now, and then I'm not quite sure how much time I'll have for the rest of the day. So don't go away, I will check in with you. Well, I got that leg in. It's not pretty, but it is secure and it will work well. I have also properly attached this corner section. It is securely attached to the lower level everywhere that it needs to be. So that will keep that corner nice and rigid. I still have not attached it to the walls anywhere, but even so, it is already as solid as a rock. I have one more piece of track to repair in this area. One of those ends got ripped, so I've cut about a 4-inch piece out, and I'll replace that tomorrow morning. And I've also attached that piece in the back corner, but it's properly bolted at both ends. I've had enough fun for one day. It's well after 6 o'clock. It's been a long, tiring day, and I need to go sit down. Well, today has been another good day's progress. I started off with a lot of little bits and pieces which are not necessarily visible, and then this afternoon I've got 3 more major sections brought in and installed. Everything from that corner around to this helix is permanently attached to the building. This side has still to be attached. I'm going to get the rest of the second level in first before I do that. Well, it's Friday morning. The first thing I'm going to do today is modify the support at the window. I did this last night before I finished, and I was basically copying what I had in my own room, in my own workshop. But we got lucky with the stud positions. There's a stud here and the same distance from the other window, so I can just put short pieces in, attach the wall both sides of the C-beam, which means that this piece doesn't need to be across the window at all. In the workshop I couldn't do that, and I just copied what was there because that was what was on my mind. Anyway, I have put the temporary leg back, so I can now dismantle this, rebuild it, and make it a whole lot better. So let me do that, and I'll check in with you again later. Here is the modified window supports. As I mentioned yesterday, we got lucky with a joint with a stud location here and at the same distance from the window at the other end. So as long as I can get screws into the wall on both sides of this cantilever bracket, I don't need to go all the way across the window. This side is the same, and it gives much better access to the window, which is a bonus. As I mentioned earlier, I didn't think of that before because in my own workshop, as I was building it, I didn't have that luxury. Well, I didn't make a recording when I finished yesterday, but this side of the railroad is now installed, first 2 levels, and firmly attached to the walls. That was the main job for yesterday. Today we're going to start by getting the lower level of the peninsula in. 3 big sections that fill the middle of the room, and then we'll start working our way around the top deck from this corner, and we'll see how far we get around the room. So don't go away, I will check in with you again later. Well, after a few hours this morning and with some help, not only is the peninsula installed, but so are several of the modules around the top deck, all the way around to this corner. I knew it would go a lot quicker. Not only did I have some full-time help up here, but all the hard stuff is with the middle level, getting the structure in. This top level basically just sits on the supports that come with the middle level. Hope that makes sense. I guess what I'm saying is that it's the easy stuff now. Except for this section here. This one is a tight fit. I talked about that when I took it apart. And that will need some extra help. So don't go away, I will check in with you again later. Back to work. Well, it seems like it's been a long day. Actually, it hasn't really, but it's been an exhaustive day. And if we walk through the train room all the way around, we can see that everything has now been installed. There's still a lot of little bits to do. Most of the rail joiners have not been slid into place for the upper deck, and none of the wiring looms have been hooked up. But that will be a job for tomorrow when I'm by myself. I've had the customer helping me put it together for the last 2 days, and it's gone a lot quicker. Tomorrow I will get the workbench in. I have some more support brackets to go on the wall at this point, and a lot of little bits and pieces which won't look as though I've made any progress, but it's going to take forever. So I'm going to sign off for today, and I'll check in with you again tomorrow. Don't go away. Well, it's been a few days since I made a recording. A lot has happened in that time, although not much of it is particularly visible. Most obvious are the upper level backdrops which have been installed. As you can see, I spackled them yesterday, or I spackled the joints. I've still got to sand them today. I'm not going to get them painted before I go. Well, that's all for this week. As I mentioned earlier, the camera died, so not everything was recorded. But on the plus side, I was able to include a few candid pictures that the customer took of me hard at work. Not only is that the end of the video, but it's also the end of the K&R and Scenic Valley series, at least for now. I'll be back up there in a few months to do some scenery work with the cloud. But until then, thanks for watching and bye for now.